After decades of tabloid headlines, it's pretty much expected that celebrity marriages won't last, and the ones that do go the distance are stranger than the failures sometimes.
Beyoncé and Sean Jay-Z Carter are the very definition of a power couple. The married music legends are each incredibly talented and influential on their own, so together they're virtually unstoppable. But much of the public's perception about this notoriously private pair is shaped by what little B and J do share about themselves. Over the years, tantalizing mysteries about Beyoncé and Jay-Z's relationship have taken shape. Here are some of the strangest of those stories. Beyoncé and Jay-Z usually keep the steamiest details of their romantic highs and lows under wraps, and that shrug-off approach to personal attention has been consistent from the start. These two kept their relationship a secret so long that even they don't seem to agree on when they actually got together. In 2008, Beyoncé told 17 that she was 18 when they met, and that they started dating when she was 19 in the year 2000. But Jay-Z told Charlie Rose they'd known each other much earlier, as far back as 1997.
I met her 10 years ago.
But did you say to yourself at that time, wow?
I said, yeah, that's a fantastic talent.
This could be a bit of revisionist history, since Beyoncé's ex-boyfriend Lyndall Locke claimed they'd been together until she began touring with Destiny's Child in her 20s. In a 2013 Vanity Fair interview with Jay-Z, he admitted that he and Beyoncé were just starting to date when they appeared together in the magazine's 2001 music issue. However, despite earlier collaborations and numerous sightings of the duo out and about, the musicians insisted their pairing was platonic. Jay-Z all but confirmed their romance in his Black Album single, Public Service Announcement. The couple finally made their public debut by showing up arm in arm at the 2004 MTV Video Music Awards. Though still not talkative about their relationship in public, the couple have presented a solid front. However, after making the rounds at a prestigious 2014 Met Gala in New York, a video leaked by TMZ showed Beyoncé's sister, Solange Knowles, physically assaulting Jay-Z in a hotel elevator as Beyoncé looked on. Rumors swirled about the cause of the incident, but the family simply released a shared public statement dismissing the issue as private. Beyoncé and Jay-Z commenced with their On the Run tour as planned the following summer. However, some subtle lyric shifts during Beyoncé's performances on tour kept tongues wagging. She later released a flawless remix with a lyric that may have attempted to put the incident on ice. Of course, sometimes shit goes down when there's $1 billion on an elevator. It's just a coincidence that the couple were both born on the 4th of the month, Beyoncé in September 1981 and Jay-Z in December 1969, but they've since adopted that shared digit as something sacred. They were married on April 4th and each got tattoos of the Roman numeral 4 on their fourth fingers to commemorate their union. They gave their daughter the middle name Ivy, which is another reference to the Roman numeral 4. There are other less obvious examples of their devotion to the digit, like Jay-Z's decision to accept a vegan challenge in 2013, writing on his website, "There's something spiritual to me about it being my 44th birthday and the serendipity behind the number of days in this challenge. 22. 2 + 2 = 4. There's no doubt Beyoncé and Jay-Z both have an entrepreneurial spirit. Consider their endless dedication to promoting his Tidal streaming service or her release of Ivy Park sportswear. But when they tried to actually trademark their daughter's name with the hopes of marketing it as a baby products line, the courts drew a line. Beyoncé and Jay-Z reportedly applied for trademark protection for Blue Ivy after their daughter was born in January 2012, but the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office declined their request. According to CNN, if they had won the rights to the name, the trademark would have put a wedding planner, who'd been using the name for years, in a lurch. But even without the trademark protection, the proud parents are still free to use the name as they see fit for merchandising opportunities. When Beyoncé dropped her visual album Lemonade in 2016, it triggered a firestorm of gossip about the status of her marriage with Jay-Z. Her legion of fans, the Beehive, went on the hunt to discover who the other woman, known as Becky with the Good Hair, was in her Sorry track. Many wondered if the Carters were still together, given the tone of the album, but Jay-Z showed up in the second act for the reconciliation phase. It wasn't the first time the pair shared tough times through music. Jay-Z's 2006 Kingdom Come track Lost One reflected on, quote, how difficult it is to respect a lover as an autonomous human being with separate needs and goals and timelines than yours. It's one of the hardest things about a real relationship of equals, but it's worth it. And if appearing in the Lemonade reconciliation number wasn't enough, Jay-Z also offered his own apology tour by way of the lyrics to the title track on his album 444, in which he made no bones about his bad behavior. It seems what the tabloids don't confirm or deny in interviews can definitely be ascertained from this power couple's music. Her marriage with Jay-Z wasn't the only relationship Beyoncé may have addressed in her Lemonade album. She also supposedly documented the ups and downs she's had with her father, Matthew Knowles, who's made headlines in the past for allegedly cheating on Beyoncé's mom and fathering a love child. Although father and daughter appeared together after the album's drop to quell any suspicion of a fallout, Matthew is clearly not in the loop when it comes to his daughter's life. He revealed that he didn't find out about her second pregnancy until she announced it to the world on Instagram.
I was shocked. Let me tell you what happened. I got a first text, and I'm like, why is this person saying congratulations? I didn't know myself.
Matthew added that he thought the surprise reveal was a strategic business decision on the Carters' part and that he and Beyoncé later engaged in a wonderful daughter-dad conversation on the subject. Even so, a little heads up might have been nice. Ellen DeGeneres and Portia de Rossi are one of Hollywood's most iconic and lovable power couples. After dating for 4 years, the cute pair married in 2008, and they've been going strong ever since. But there are quirky aspects to any marriage or long-term relationship, and these two are no exception. Here are some surprising details about their partnership. When same-sex marriage was legalized in California in June 2008, DeGeneres and de Rossi could hardly wait to say I do. But their big day was a surprisingly small affair. The pair tied the knot in front of just 19 guests at their beautiful Los Angeles home just 2 months later. DeGeneres told People that planning a big wedding just got to be too big and stressful. Sporting custom-made matching outfits from designer Zac Posen, the couple exchanged handwritten vows during the intimate ceremony. Although their romantic day was a private affair, the two didn't keep it entirely to themselves. This moving wedding video was aired on The Oprah Winfrey Show.
I gotta say, that was the happiest day of my life. It really was.
Me too.
DeGeneres is well known for playing pranks on her show's guests, but did you know her mischievous games are also fair play at home? In November 2013, she hilariously live-tweeted a 2-hour stretch in which she hid in a cupboard in an attempt to scare de Rossi, only to find out that de Rossi had actually been hiding in their closet waiting to scare her. 2 years after this viral Twitter saga, the pair was at it again, this time in a series of workout-related prank videos. First, DeGeneres secretly recorded de Rossi working out to a Jane Fonda video and posted it online. It wasn't long before de Rossi exacted her revenge, sharing a video of DeGeneres running on the treadmill while singing along with Mark Ronson's Uptown Funk.
Don't believe me, just watch.
DeGeneres and de Rossi are all about the love, not the presents. During a joint interview with E! News around Valentine's Day 2016, DeGeneres said the couple did not plan to exchange gifts on the romantic holiday. We don't even give each other presents for Christmas or birthdays anymore. We have everything. The comedian then said love and respect is all they need, before calling Portia her soulmate. She's my everything to me and I don't know what I'd do without her. At this point, de Rossi chimed in. There it is. That's my Valentine's Day gift. DeGeneres and de Rossi clearly share many passions, including interior design and flipping houses. In 2011, they gave Architectural Digest an inside look at their beautiful Beverly Hills home, one of 7 they had lived in so far. DeGeneres told the magazine her family always rented when she was a kid, so the first thing she did when she made money was buy a house. And then, as de Rossi pointed out, she just kept on buying them. This way of living, of course, means a lot of moving, but they're both into it. As DeGeneres wrote in an essay for People in 2014, one tabloid said Portia's leaving me because she doesn't like moving a lot, which is funny because she is overseeing the construction of our new house and loving it. And they listed their gorgeous Santa Barbara home for $45 million in early 2017, so it seems the creative pair may have a new project lined up. DeGeneres and DeRossi clearly have a lot of love to give, but don't expect them to start a family anytime soon, or ever. The kid question has followed the pair around for years. In 2009, DeRossi spoke with Access Hollywood to dismiss the rumor that she'd been undergoing in vitro fertilization treatment, calling the claim completely made up. DeGeneres firmly yet humorously tried to put an end to the speculation in her 2011 book, Seriously, I'm Kidding. People are constantly asking Portia and me if we are going to have children. We thought about it. We love to be around children after they've been fed and bathed. But we ultimately decided that we don't want children of our own. There is far too much glass in our house.
Pippa Middleton became known around the globe when her older sister Kate Middleton married a prince. But don't worry about Pippa being caught in her sister's shadow, because she married her very own Prince Charming, billionaire James Matthews, and together they are anything but ordinary. According to the Daily Mail, James Matthews knew that Pippa Middleton was the one from the moment he laid eyes on her. They reportedly met in 2007 on St. Bart's in the Caribbean, and friends said it was love at first sight for James. However, James is 8 years older than Pippa, and back then the age gap was more apparent, as she was in her early 20s while he was in his 30s. Plus, she had a boyfriend at the time. They stayed in touch but dated other people until 2012, when they both found themselves single. But after dating for a few short months, Pippa and James broke up, and Kate's sister moved on. But apparently, she and James were meant to be, because in late 2015, the two each ended their respective relationships and got back together. A friend reportedly told the Daily Mail, "The truth was, the only girl he really wanted was Pippa. He always carried a torch for her." Less than a year after they reunited, James proposed with a diamond ring reportedly worth over $300,000, and they tied the knot at her parents' estate in May 2017.
She's got a £250,000 engagement ring, course I'm gutted.
According to The Telegraph, Pippa's mother, Carol Middleton, reportedly told a friend years before the engagement that she hoped her daughter would marry James Matthews. James reportedly had a private meeting with Carol before asking for her daughter's hand. The Telegraph reported that Carol was thrilled about the proposal. It would also appear that Pippa's mum influenced where the wedding took place. While some had speculated that the pair would wed at James's family estate in Scotland, they instead got married on the Middleton family estate in England. According to a 2017 poll, the average cost of a wedding in England was $36,803. James Matthews and Pippa Middleton really took their nuptials to the next level by spending an estimated $1 million. According to E! News, the couple and their 350 guests celebrated with $92,000 worth of champagne and wine, $20,000 of flowers, and $26,000 in the form of vintage cars and a fleet of Range Rovers to transport the wedding party and their friends. Meanwhile, Pippa's hair cost almost $1,000, and her couture Giles Deacon lace wedding gown was estimated to carry a massive $52,000 price tag. According to the Daily Mail, Pippa and James also flew in a glass palace from Belgium, which was rebuilt on the Middleton estate and set them back a whopping $130,000. But according to E! News, the building wasn't as dreamy as it sounds, as guests reportedly had to use portable bathrooms that were housed in a tent next to the glass building. Not many people can say the future King of England was a guest at their wedding, but Pippa Middleton had both Prince William and Prince George at hers. Pippa's nephew Prince George, who is third in line to the throne, and his sister Princess Charlotte were both members of her wedding party. However, both children were photographed being scolded by their mother for bad behaviour after the ceremony, after apparently stepping on the bride's dress, and George apparently burst into tears. Pippa Middleton's sister Kate became a duchess when she married Prince William, but she's not the only one in the family with a fancy title. According to House Beautiful, James Matthews' billionaire father David Matthews holds the Scottish title of Laird of Glen-Affric, and James will inherit the title one day. Pippa will then become Lady of Glen-Affric.
I hate princesses.
Pippa doesn't miss a beat.
While Kate's husband, Prince William, gained his title from being descended from a long line of kings and queens, the Matthews family bought and paid for their titles when David purchased the 10,000-acre Glen-Affric estate in 2008. Even before they were officially a couple, Pippa Middleton and James Matthews competed in sporting events together. Along with Pippa's brother James Middleton, they participated in a number of extreme activities to raise funds for the Michael Matthews Foundation, which was established in honor of the memory of James's younger brother Michael, who sadly died in 1999 at the age of 22 while hiking Mount Everest. In 2014, Pippa and James took part in the Race Across America event. And in September 2015, shortly before they got together, the pair competed in the Ottilo 47-mile swim-run race in Sweden. According to People, Pippa said of the grueling event, "It was one of the hardest things I've done. The toughest part was the long swim with the cold water and big waves, but the scenery was beautiful, and I loved the team part of it."
It feels pretty special.
Unlike her sister, who made the conscious decision to marry into the most famous family in all of Britain, Pippa Middleton and James Matthews never made the choice to be in the public eye. In fact, Pippa struggled with her newfound fame when her sister was thrust into the spotlight. In her 2012 book, Celebrate, A Year of Festivities for Families and Friends, Kate's sibling admitted, "It's a bit startling to achieve global recognition, if that's the right word, before the age of 30, on account of your sister, your brother-in-law, and your bottom." Pippa was, of course, referencing the fact that photos of her wearing a bridesmaid dress at her sister's wedding went viral and caused quite a sensation. However, Pippa apparently doesn't want the same level of attention that her royal sister has. Of the couple's plans for the future, People reported, "Pippa and James have a deep desire to disappear from the spotlight in the longer term. Another source says they are looking forward to settling down and having children and leading a quiet life." It's probably no coincidence that we haven't seen the couple all that much since their son Arthur was born in October 2018. But Pippa did reveal in her column for Waitrose Weekend magazine that she'd been taking her son for gentle skull massages and explained, "It's a popular alternative therapy for newborns, particularly those who have had a traumatic birth, are unsettled, or have trouble sleeping."
Serena Williams and Alexis Ohanian make up one of the world's top celebrity couples to watch. With a record 23 Grand Slam singles titles to her name, Williams was the highest-paid female athlete for the second year running in 2017. And as the co-founder of Reddit and Initialized Capital, Ohanian is a longtime net neutrality activist who was dubbed the mayor of the internet by Forbes in 2012. While these two are undoubtedly couple goals, there is more to their relationship than meets the eye. Here are the weirdest things about their star-powered marriage.
In a way, it's the greatest nerd makes good story in history. You marrying Serena Williams, I mean, it's pretty unbelievable when you think about it.
Williams and Ohanian's love story may be one for the books, but it wasn't love at first sight for this couple. In May 2015, they met by chance at the Cavalieri Hotel in Rome. While Williams lounged by the pool with a group of her friends, Ohanian unknowingly sat down right next to the tennis superstar. Williams told Vanity Fair in 2017 that she and her friends misread his close proximity as creeping.
He plops down right next to us, and I'm like,
who is this guy?
Who is this guy? Yeah. You know, and why are you here?
And purposely lied about seeing a rat being nearby to get him to leave. She said, "We were trying to get him to move. He kind of refuses and he looks at us. And he's like, 'Is there really a rat here? I'm from Brooklyn. I see rats all the time.'" Intrigued by the startup guru's nonchalance, Williams invited Ohanian to join her group. The pair shared their first official date just a few weeks later, a weekend getaway in Paris.
Careful, there's a rat. There was no rat. Now we're married.
Williams and Ohanian may be at the top of their respective fields, but they were totally clueless about each other's careers when they first met. Ohanian admitted to Vanity Fair that while he knew a little bit about Williams' championship titles, he wasn't interested at all in the sport itself, saying, "I had never watched a match on television or in real life. I really had no respect for tennis." To be fair, Williams didn't know anything about Reddit at the time either. Ohanian ended up attending the 2015 Italian Open to watch Williams in action that week. He then posted on Instagram, "Looks like I just became a tennis fan." Williams and Ohanian were initially notoriously private about their blossoming romance. The couple secretly dated for nearly 15 months before they finally went public with their engagement in December 2016. While the tech exec dropped hints about their relationship on social media during that time, he didn't pop up on Williams' own Instagram feed until over a year after they met. In a group photo in August 2016, she teased her secret boyfriend by referring to him as the nerd. Before the two ever celebrated their first anniversary together, Ohanian knew he wanted to marry Williams. He told Vanity Fair, "I felt like a door had been opened to a person who made me want to be my best self." And he planned a picture-perfect proposal. He flew Williams to Rome and set up a trail of rose petals leading to the exact spot where they first met. Naturally, Williams announced their engagement on Reddit, calling herself Future Mrs. Nothing, in reference to his username. In April 2017, Williams accidentally revealed her first pregnancy when she infamously shared and deleted a Snapchat selfie. Fans may have been stunned, but the newly engaged pair couldn't have been more shocked themselves when they found out they were expecting. In the week leading up to the Australian Open in January of that year, Williams had been feeling off, and she eventually took a pregnancy test. As she recalled to Vanity Fair, the results read positive. She said, "I did a double take and my heart dropped, like literally it dropped. Oh my god, this can't be. I've got to play a tournament. How am I going to play the Australian Open? I had planned on winning Wimbledon this year." The tennis pro was in denial and needed some convincing. So she took 5 more tests, all of which were positive. When Ohanian flew into Melbourne to meet her, Williams simply handed the surprised internet king a paper bag containing all 6 pregnancy tests.
I wasn't quite sure what to think, but I just knew that at that moment it was really important for me to just focus right there at the Australian Open.
Determined to compete as planned, Williams famously went on to win her 23rd Grand Slam title while roughly 8 weeks pregnant. Daughter Alexis Olympia arrived in September 2017. Williams' childbirth complications ultimately led to utilizing her platform to advocate for healthcare around the world. She shared via Facebook, "My personal experience was not great, but it was my experience. And I'm happy it happened to me. It made me stronger." Just ahead of their wedding, Ohanian rented out an entire movie theater so the whole family could watch Thor Ragnarok together. The proud dad posted on an Instagram vid, "Thor Ragnarok is a family affair." He then added,
"Mama needed a day off to relax."
The clip then cut to him, Williams, and little Alexis Olympia cuddling in front of the big screen, where Ohanian told his little girl,
"We're gonna cover your eyes for all the violent scenes.
And whoever you're my son."
Yeah, safety first.
But Ohanian jokingly added,
"Even though Thor is your mother's other man, it's okay, he's not that tall."
As the video came to an end, the tennis pro could be seen taking a nap and using her soon-to-be husband's shoulder as a pillow. After a nearly year-long engagement, Williams and Ohanian tied the knot in November 2017 in New Orleans. But their wedding was anything but ordinary. Rather than opt for a traditional ceremony, the pair instead threw a Disney-themed affair. The star-studded wedding, attended by the likes of Beyoncé, Eva Longoria, and Ciara, included a magical Beauty and the Beast theme. According to an Entertainment Tonight source, guests were greeted with the song "Be Our Guest" and were expected to dress to the theme. Williams revealed to Vogue that she wanted her wedding to be as non-traditional as possible. As she glowed in an Alexander McQueen gown, and Ohanian handsomely sported an Armani suit, the couple exchanged personally written vows. Ohanian told his stunning bride, "You are the greatest of all time, not just in sport. I'm talking about as a mother and as a wife. I am so excited to write so many more chapters of our fairy tale together. And my whole life I didn't even realize it, but I was waiting for this moment. I am so grateful and I am so in love." After the Disney-themed ceremony transformed into a modern ball, the newlyweds' first dance was set to Tale as Old as Time and If I Can't Have You. Oh, and New Edition gave a surprise performance at the reception, before Ohanian surprised his wife with an all-white carousel as Genuine's pony played. You know, no big deal. Ohanian clearly loves surprising his wife with grand gestures, but he may have topped even himself with this one. In February 2018, as Williams geared up for her highly anticipated return to tennis after giving birth, the startup guru designed and put up 4 billboards to support her. Ohanian took to social media to post a photo of his handiwork. Each billboard featured little Alexis Olympia and Williams, and boasted the acronym GMOAT, meaning Greatest Mama of All Time. He wrote, "These just went up on alongside I-10 in Palm Springs. Olympia Ohanian and I wanted to welcome her back to tennis. Designed them myself, with some help from Junior." Days later, Williams made her triumphant return at the BNP Paribas Open in Indian Wells, California. With her family cheering her on in an admittedly extravagant way, she defeated her opponent, Zarina Diaz, in the first round of the tournament. Serena Williams and Alexis Ohanian's relationship may have had its fair share of quirks and insanely wild extravagances, but at the end of the day, there's no doubt these two are clearly total relationship goals. The married pair is known to share their funniest, cutest, and most romantic moments on social media, just proving that no matter where they are in the world, they're never that far apart. And for a world-class athlete and internet mogul, plus little adorable Alexis Olympia, that's a pretty huge accomplishment. And we dare fans not to audibly sigh whenever Williams gushes about her man. She wrote on Instagram at the end of 2017 while sharing her top 10 favorite moments with Ohanian, "He's my rock, my backbone, my love. I am so lucky to have found this wonderful man that treats me better than a queen. I love you, Alexis. You make me excited to wake up every morning knowing I'll get to see you." Serena may win all the championships, but Ohanian's clearly won her heart.
Celebrity food personality and best-selling cookbook author Ina Garten and her husband of nearly 50 years, Yale professor Jeffrey Garten, are #couple goals for the hardcore Food Network fan. After first laying eyes on each other in the early 60s, these two have lived a love story for the ages, and if you've ever seen them on TV adorably fawning all over each other, you know that these two are the real deal. Every last chapter of Ina and Jeffrey's life together shows they're in it for the long haul and will forever be into one another. Here are some of the stranger things you didn't know about the delightful, love-fueled and filled entity that is the Gartens. When Ina Garten was 15 years old, she and her parents visited her brother who was studying at Dartmouth College, where Jeffrey Garten also happened to be matriculating. Ina recounted the story in her cookbook, Cooking for Jeffrey, writing, "Unbeknownst to me, Jeffrey and his roommate were in the college library studying as I walked by outside. Jeffrey just happened to look up at that moment. He asked his roommate, 'Who's that girl?' Strangely, the roommate did know that girl. It was Ina Rosenberg, and he had a date with her that night set up by Ina's brother. Jeffrey ignored the competition from his roommate and went for it anyway. He got her address and sent Ina a letter. In her book, she recalls the moment, writing, "I received a beautiful handwritten letter in the mail with a photograph of the most adorable guy I'd ever seen." A few months later, Jeffrey came to visit Ina in Connecticut, and she tried to take him to a bar despite being only 16. Naturally, they were refused service. In her book, she recounts the experience, saying, "I'd never actually been to a bar, but I figured that's where a college guy would expect to go, right?" While people got married younger in the good old days, Ina and Jeffrey were shockingly young when they got hitched. When Jeffrey and Ina made their love state official in 1968, he was 22 years old and she was only 20. But it's worth mentioning that the couple were together for nearly 5 years before they tied the knot.
He's putting up with me for 45 years.
Oh, God.
The ceremony took place at Ina's parents' home 3 days before Christmas. In an interview with People, Ina described the romantic day, saying, "It was a perfect day for a wedding. Right in the middle of the ceremony, it started to snow." When she answered Vanity Fair's Proust questionnaire in 2016, Ina said that her greatest regret was, quote, "not marrying Jeffrey sooner." If your biggest mistake isn't locking down the love of your life as quickly as possible, then you have led a charmed life. Believe it or not, Ina Garten once worked in a field about as totally opposite to making high-end comfort food as you can get. She worked for the feds.
I was working at OMB, Office of Management and Budget.
For the federal government?
For Ford and Carter. And I worked on nuclear energy policy.
Not to be outdone, Jeffrey Garten contributed his expertise in economics to 4 presidential administrations: Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter, and Bill Clinton. For the latter, Garten was the Undersecretary of Commerce for International Trade, focusing on emerging markets. So they've both been close to the room where it happens. Isn't it nice when couples have things in common? Ina Garten may be one of the most famous names in American food, but she didn't go to culinary school and she isn't a chef. She made her mark because she had a love, passion, and knowledge for the culinary arts, coupled with opportunity. By 1978, she'd burned out on working in nuclear policy and was ready to make a major career change. At the time, Garten also had a good side hustle flipping houses. It was about then when she saw a classified ad about a small, full-service specialty food store, the Barefoot Contessa, for sale in the Hamptons.
I went home and I told Jeffrey about it, and he said, "Pick something you love to do. If you love doing it, you'll be really good at it."
Despite not having any prior experience in the food world, she ran the store for nearly 2 decades. Both Jeffrey and Ina Garten have enjoyed extremely successful and busy careers in their respective lines of work. While Ina ran a store and parlayed it into a career as a TV personality and author of 11 cookbooks, Jeffrey Garten became one of the world's foremost minds on business, finance, and international trade. In 1995, he was named the Dean of the Yale School of Management. He held the position for 10 years before stepping down, but he remains on staff as an instructor, with the title of Dean Emeritus. According to his Yale profile, he's also worked on mergers and acquisitions in the private sector, written a monthly column about global business for Business Week, and found the time to write 6 books on economics. All of this is to say that the Gartens don't see each other too much during the week. Ina stays in East Hampton working on her career as a food icon, and Jeffrey hangs out at Yale up in New Haven, Connecticut.
One thing we always do is we always connect with each other during the day. And the thing is, even though he's away, he's like this anchor in the middle of my life.
Together, Jeffrey and Ina have lived a shared life of seemingly boundless love, romance, and whimsy. For Jeffrey, it all culminated on one very special day, which, in an interview with Food Network, he called the single best moment in his life with Ina.
So I've got another surprise for you.
It went down in May 2002 when Jeffrey took a red-eye flight from New York City to Paris and then took a cab to a building he'd never visited before, despite many memorable trips to the City of Light with his wife. Ina buzzed him up to an apartment. This was a little place in Paris that Ina had purchased a year before and extensively remodeled, all without ever showing Jeffrey a single picture or revealing any details. In an interview with the Food Network, Ina said, "The secret to a happy marriage is that he trusted me. I wanted it to be a surprise." Both Jeffrey and Ina Garten are in their 70s now, so the opportunity for them to have children, at least biologically, has passed. Jeffrey and Ina consciously made the decision together to not start a family, or rather, make theirs larger. In 2017, Ina Garten opened up about their decision on the Katie Couric podcast.
We decided not to have children, but I feel that I would never have been able to have the life I've had. And so it's a choice.
Viewers of Ina Garten's shows know that when she and Jeffrey reunite each week, they often dine on roast chicken. At least for that reason, the roast chicken is a very important dish to the woman who makes great food for a living. And she thinks it should be an important dish for just about everybody too.
One of the great gifts that you can give people is to cook for them.
In 2017, Ina told Time that the first thing anyone should learn how to cook, in addition to coffee, should be a roast chicken. It's a special meal she enjoys with her husband, but it's also apparently a special meal that can land a person a spouse. In 2018, Ina Garten told NBC's Today, "I met some young women and they told me they call the roast chicken in the Barefoot Contessa cookbook engagement chicken, because they found that every woman in the office that made it for their boyfriend was engaged within 24 hours. It may have even worked for the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle. In 2016, the soon-to-be Duchess told Good Housekeeping, "There is nothing as delicious or impressive as a perfectly roasted chicken. If you have an Ina Garten-level roasted chicken recipe, it's a game changer." And in their first interview after their engagement, the couple shared details on the night that Prince Harry popped the question.
It's a standard, typical night for us.
It's a cozy night. What were we doing? Just roasting chicken and
trying to roast chicken.
Trying to roast a chicken.
Guess that's how Markle snagged Prince Harry, and how Ina's kept Jeffrey happy for decades.
After 5 years as husband and wife, Justin Timberlake and Jessica Biel look as fresh-faced and head over heels in love as they did when they first stepped out together. And they certainly aren't afraid to tell the world about it via their often adorable social media output. But if you remove the filter, it becomes clear that their marriage is not as conventional as they'd have you believe. Here are some strange things about Justin Timberlake and Jessica Biel's marriage. The pair first met through mutual friends and got to know each other at a Golden Globes after-party back in 2007, with their instant chemistry apparently proving too much for JT's ex Cameron Diaz, who reportedly got in a fight with Timberlake when she spotted him chatting up Biel. Biel arranged for Timberlake to get her digits that evening, but according to sources, when he failed to call the next day, she took matters into her own hands and drove to his house. She later joked about how she felt like a stalker. Hey, if Cupid isn't doing the job, you sometimes have to do it yourself. Right from their first meeting, Biel was sure Timberlake was the man for her. She told James Corden that early on, she sent an email to her producing partner declaring her intention to marry Timberlake.
Literally is like, okay, I can't make that meeting, so we'll have to cancel. Also, I know I'm gonna marry this man. You can't tell anybody but your husband.
Biel's certainty is particularly amazing given they didn't even kiss until well into the relationship. Biel told Corden, quote, "We didn't kiss for a very long time because he was on tour, and we were talking on the phone like normal preteens do. We were just chatting on the phone for hours. So we never really kissed for a very long time." Beal and Timberlake's 2012 marriage came as a bit of a surprise to some fans considering the couple had split up in 2011, reportedly over rumors that Timberlake was getting way too chummy with his Friends with Benefits co-star Mila Kunis. Timberlake denied the accusations both publicly and privately, but his denials weren't helped by the fact that at a surprise 30th birthday party thrown by Beal in his honor, Timberlake reportedly acted like a jerk. Sources claim that after Beal gave a teary speech declaring her love for him, Timberlake laughed it off, jumping to his feet and shouting, "Yeah, sorta like this, probably." Yeah! Timberlake's childish insensitivity was reportedly the straw that broke the camel's back, leading to their breakup. Luckily, he's learned a few things about making a good toast since then.
I'm married to Jessica Biel.
Is there anyone better than Timberlake's grandma Sadie Bomar? While Beal and JT were trying to be careful about their relationship, Timberlake's unfiltered granny was more than happy to go on the record in 2009 about the fact that Beal was just getting too serious, too quickly for her little Justin. She told the Daily Mail, "Jessica was keen to marry, but Justin isn't ready. He's busy writing new material and he works hard to be successful. He's really focused on that. As far as we're concerned, he's always been single. The girlfriends come and go, but we believe nothing has ever been serious. Justin does his own thing and he isn't ready to marry just yet." When the couple finally did break up in 2011, one of Timberlake's pals backed up Grandma Sadie, telling People, "Justin was dying to be single and have fun. He was torn because Jess is an amazing woman and considered to be marriage material, and he loved that about her. But he couldn't drag her along just because one day in the far future he'd want to marry her. It was making her crazy and it was making him hate himself." Timberlake wasn't the only one to suddenly change his tune in regard to marrying, as his family also made a complete 180 on the subject. JT's loose-lipped granny Sadie was at it again as 2011 drew to a close, taking it upon herself to announce that Timber Beal was not only alive and well, but that Justin had finally popped the question while the lovebirds vacationed in that most romantic destination of Wyoming. "He called me on Christmas Day and told me he's engaged. The family loves Jessie. She's a very sweet girl. A sweet girl she may be, but a gullible one she apparently is not." It wasn't long until their engagement celebrations turned into sour discussions over a prenuptial agreement, with a source alleging that a proposed fidelity clause was the main sticking point. She thinks if he strays during the marriage, she should be royally compensated. She wants a fidelity clause in the prenup giving her at least $500,000 if he does. If he's faithful for several years, maybe she'll agree to have his baby. She doesn't trust him 100% yet. Jessica figures if she gets fat during the pregnancy, he'll cheat again.
Divorce rumors, a possible affair, and an obvious absence. How did Melania react to Donald Trump's alleged infidelity? And does she really want to return to the White House? Melania Trump is one of the few first ladies in the history of the presidency to delay moving into the White House. The Trumps made it clear they wanted their son, Barron Trump, to be able to finish school in New York without interruption. Yet questions remained about the level of involvement Melania was going to have in her East Wing duties. Back in 1999, Melania had a much different vision for her theoretical role as FLOTUS. She told the New York Times, "I would be very traditional, like Betty Ford or Jackie Kennedy. I would support him." 17 years later, Melania drastically changed her tune, telling GQ, "I chose not to go into politics and policy. Those policies are my husband's job." Her position changed again just days before the election, when she announced that one of her key issues as First Lady would be to combat cyberbullying, which many found ironic considering Donald Trump's penchant for slinging barbs via X, formerly known as Twitter.
Social media is an inventable part of our children's daily lives.
During Donald's first official overseas trip, Melania accompanied him and, according to many accounts, salvaged what could have been a diplomatic disaster. Melania essentially stole the entire international show, charming Pope Francis with small talk and making headlines with her fashion choices. Of her performance during the trip, Donald himself was reportedly overheard aboard Air Force One describing her as Jackie O on steroids. Melania Trump famously made headlines when she refused to move into the White House for nearly 5 months after President Trump's inauguration. Instead, she chose to remain in New York until Barron Trump finished his school year, and it wasn't until June 2017 that Melania finally made the move into the White House, and during that time, taxpayers had to foot a huge bill in order to keep the couple's long-distance marriage on track. In estimating how much it actually cost to protect Melania and Barron while they continued to live in Manhattan's Trump Tower, the New York Police Department arrived at a staggering figure. Melania. Apparently, it cost New Yorkers between $127,000 and $146,000 a day to protect the First Lady and her son, according to NBC New York. What's more, the state reportedly incurred additional costs of around $24 million in the 2 months between Election Day and Inauguration Day, as they had to protect Melania, Barron, and Donald Trump. Police Commissioner James P. O'Neill formally sought a full reimbursement while residents launched a Change.org petition in March 2017. The petition received 560,000 signatures, but the subject became moot when she eventually made her way to Washington. Almost no celebrity couple is immune to the occasional tabloid headline, but when Donald Trump threw his hat into the ring for the presidency, the supermarket checkout was noticeably quiet about his marriage. According to Politico, this may have a lot to do with Trump's close relationship to AMI owner David Pecker, the man whose media empire owns the National Enquirer, The Globe, The National Examiner, and Radar Online. Trump and Pecker worked together in the 90s on Trump Style, a magazine for guests of the Trump properties, and the two have remained close ever since. Throughout the 2016 presidential campaign, AMI's publications tended to be highly critical of Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton and her husband, former President Bill Clinton, while simultaneously championing Trump and leaving Melania Trump out of it altogether. This was purely coincidental, according to Pecker, who told the New York Post, "The pro-Trump and anti-Hillary covers have seen newsstand sales pop 23%. That is the only poll data that I care about." Donald Trump first met Stormy Daniels in 2006 at the American Century Celebrity Golf Championship. According to the adult film star, an affair soon followed. Donald had married Melania Trump the year before, and their son, Barron, was just a few months old when Stormy alleged things got physical between them. She shared details of their encounters with In Touch in 2011, but the outlet didn't publish them until 2018 because Trump's longtime attorney, Michael Cohen, apparently threatened to take legal action. However, In Touch finally decided to post the interview a week after a 2018 report from the Wall Street Journal claimed Cohen had paid Stormy $130,000 in 2016 to keep her from talking about the affair. The hush-money allegations eventually resulted in Donald Trump being slapped with 34 felony counts.
And it's not over yet. Who knows what's going to happen?
While he has denied everything, Melania is said to have been angry when news of the affair came to light. According to a 2024 book by New York Times reporter Katie Rogers, she tried to get her revenge through small gestures, like refusing to join her husband on a trip abroad. Not only did the Trumps have a low-key anniversary in the wake of the Stormy Daniels story, they also sent up some marriage red flags when Melania suddenly dropped out of a planned visit to Switzerland for the president's attendance at the World Economic Forum. In a statement to CNN, Melania's communications director cited, quote, scheduling and logistical issues as the reason for the First Lady's change of plans. So, what did Melania end up doing the day her husband landed in Davos? She went to the US Holocaust Memorial Museum, which just so happens to be a 6-minute car ride or 60-minute walk from the White House, according to Google Maps. Donald and Melania Trump have repeatedly been accused of being overly cold with one another, and in 2018, The Washington Post took those allegations one step further. Speaking to numerous sources, the outlet reported that Melania and the then-president were leading completely separate lives while in the White House. According to insiders, the pair did not share a bedroom, rarely ate together, and, as one source put it, they spend very little to no time together. On the flip side, a different source said they actually spent almost every evening together while Melania's former friend, Stephanie Winston Wolkoff, underscored the fact that the distance between the Trumps didn't signal any trouble in paradise. She said of the pair, "They are not that couple that holds hands just because. Melania is old-world European, and it's not who she is." Indeed, back in 2016, Melania herself told The Washington Post that she and her husband enjoyed being apart, saying, "We are both very independent. We like to do what we like to do, and we give ourselves and each other space." Since moving out of the White House and into Mar-a-Lago, it seems little has changed. As one source told Radar Online in 2023, Melania isn't interested in golfing or schmoozing like her husband is, and they're happy to spend time apart. They told the publication, "She mostly keeps to herself and stays out of Donald's way as long as he stays out of hers. It works for both of them." The Washington Post journalist Mary Jordan made headlines in 2020 when she published The Art of Her Deal, the untold story of Melania Trump, in which she claimed that the real reason Melania didn't immediately move into the White House was pure business. According to sources, Mrs. Trump seized her opportunity after her husband was elected president to demand that he update their prenup. She allegedly forced him to make it more favorable towards her and son Barron Trump if he wanted her to stick around. Jordan wrote, she wanted proof in writing that when it came to financial opportunities and inheritance, Barron would be treated as more of an equal to Trump's oldest 3 children.
She's very smart,
She's a chess player. She plays the long game.
Melania's chief of staff, Stephanie Grisham, slammed the reports, telling CNN this book belongs in the fiction genre. Jump to 2023, when Donald was ordered to pay $5 million to E. Jean Carroll, who accused him of sexual assault and defamation, and Melania reportedly used the opportunity to cash in again. Sources told Radar that this time, she threatened to renegotiate their prenup or even file for divorce if Donald didn't up her monthly allowance and increase their son's inheritance. If he did, she promised to support his 2024 presidential run. The insider claimed this really was a take-it-or-leave-it situation. Let's just say Melania was in no mood to negotiate with Donald, and he knew full well there was no chance he was returning to the Oval Office without her. The first half of 2023 was rough for Donald Trump. In March, he was indicted over an alleged hush money payment made to Stormy Daniels ahead of the 2016 presidential election. That April, he pled not guilty to the resulting 34 felony counts, but if he was hoping for support from his wife, he didn't exactly get it. As one insider told People, she doesn't sympathize with Donald's plight. But while Melania Trump didn't appear by his side in court and she never made a public statement about the indictment, the office of Melania Trump's ex account did tweet that news outlets should stop assuming they know how she feels. They also issued a public request, writing, "We ask readers to exercise caution and good judgment when determining whether or not stories concerning the former First Lady are accurate." That June, Donald's legal woes worsened when he was indicted on 37 federal charges in the classified documents saga. Again, Melania kept quiet, and sources told People she doesn't want anything to do with any of it. They also underscored that she's moving forward without getting sucked into the legal battles, but she reportedly does wish all of the charges against her husband would go away. An insider told the magazine she wants his legal team to fight this to the end and hopefully end the fight. Meanwhile, another source told Daily Mail she is focused on her family and stands behind her husband, as she always has. She may not have rushed to move into the White House, and she was constantly criticized during her time there, but Melania Trump is not ruling out another stint as First Lady. In her first sit-down interview since moving back to Mar-a-Lago, Melania told Fox News in 2022 that she actually enjoyed political life.
I enjoyed living in the White House.
She also praised her husband's administration.
To be First Lady of the United States was my greatest honor.
It seems she may have known something we didn't, because in November 2022, Donald Trump officially announced that he was again running for president. Not surprisingly, Melania kept to her word and said she was all for it. She told Fox, "My husband achieved tremendous success in his first administration, and he can lead us toward greatness and prosperity once again. He has my support, and we look forward to restoring hope for the future and leading America with love and strength." Donald Trump has often praised his wife publicly, and yet it seems he has a strange way of celebrating special occasions. When he celebrates them at all, that is. In January 2024, for example, the Trumps marked their 19th wedding anniversary, but rather than tweeting about the milestone, the former president was totally focused on the defamation trial brought against him by E. Jean Carroll. According to a count by Newsweek, Trump spent January 22nd firing off a tirade of messages against Carroll and mentioned the retired journalist a whopping 46 times on Truth Social that day, without highlighting his marriage. A few weeks later, on Valentine's Day, the former president again took a unique approach to romance when he turned a love letter to Melania into a fundraising opportunity. In an email sent to supporters, Trump told his wife he loved her and enthused, "Even after every single indictment, arrest, and witch hunt, you never left my side." He also thanked her for her unwavering support and shared, "I wouldn't be the man I am today without your guidance, kindness, and warmth." Folks were then encouraged to click a huge red button with the words, "Send your love," which allowed them to send a personalized message to Melania, as well as donate money to his campaign.